everyone. Welcome to the Minority Report. I'm Anita Krishna.
And I'm Glen Jung.
And welcome, everybody. Thanks for checking out this first episode that Glen and I are putting together.
Yeah, you could tell that was the first time we've said that because it wasn't so smooth, that intro there. It's happening. We're rolling.
Listen, we are tired old people. We have been working very hard since 2020. But some of you guys might know Glen from Bright Light News, and what a massive sort of stellar, I would say, news service that has become to people who are looking for real news. Glen, tell me a little bit about that and how that got started.
Well, March 2020, I got a call from my one of my homeopathic professors, and she said to me, there is something weird going on. I can't practice homeopathy where I live here in Austria because only the MDs can practice. So she said, we graduated from colleges. So she said, I can't practice, but she's running workshops for the doctors. Next thing you know, I'm looking at the data and like, wow, 80% of the deaths are happening in the long-term care homes. Italy was the first hotspot, remember? And next thing you know, Bright Light News spawned in 2020. And funny enough, I was teaching back then, and I could not, use my real voice. So the next thing you know, I had to drop my voice a pitch and a half in every interview, and I never showed my face. But so I went from non-journalist, teacher / homeopath to having done now over 100 interviews, and it's been an incredible ride. So,
yeah. I mean, that's the thing too with me. I was working at Global News and I was directing newscasts. I didn't have a job that was an editorial job. It was just a technical job. But I think, like you, I was so absolutely searching, almost desperate searching, because I knew everything seemed to be a lie. I mean, every single thing. As we tape this show today, I believe the public has been lied to, a top to bottom. But that then just brings us to what's sort of going on today. We are smack dab in the middle of these hearings into the Emergency Act. Part of me feels like this is even, I don't know. I don't have high expectations. What is your take on some of the most interesting things that have happened as you've been listening and reporting on it?
Well, I think, what the amazing thing is, it didn't look good at first. It was stacked. Only 5 witnesses were actually from the convoy, and then the other 60 are representatives of the municipality, of the government, police, the city, business associations, right? But what's happening, what we're finding is that the more people talk, right, the more that the lies get exposed, right? So these lies are being exposed, and the biggest one happened a couple of days ago, and that was with the OPP intelligence officer, Pat Morris, I believe is his name. Huge. I mean, this guy right there, this should blow open the whole narrative. He was asked a question by Brendan Miller, who's doing an incredible job right now. He's representing, I believe, the Freedom Convoy group. So basically, Brendan Miller said to him, listen, do you have any clear intelligence on any espionage?
You didn't see any evidence in the intelligence of espionage or in support of espionage. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Sabotage or anything in support of sabotage?
That's correct.
Foreign influenced activities within or relating to Canada that involved the threat to any person?
I saw media accounts, yes. I saw no information collected or intelligence produced in that regard, no. To support that, no.
Activities within or relating to Canada directed toward or in support of the threat of a use of acts of serious violence against persons for the purpose of achieving a political, religious, or ideological objective within Canada or a foreign state?
I'm aware of no intelligence that was produced that would support concern in that regard.
Activities within or relating to Canada directed toward or in support of the threat of use of acts of serious violence against property for the purpose of achieving a political, religious, or ideological objective within Canada or a foreign state?
Did we have any credible intelligence that would occur? No.
What else did he say that was amazing? He said, you know what? Shockingly, there was no violence happening at the convoy. The minute amount, if there was any, because later on, I think it was reported in total, there were 10 arrests, reports of violence, and 6 of them were by police officers.
Oh, of course. I mean, I'm so frustrated when they say, oh, people were scared to leave their homes. First of all, I don't think they were. you're not really scared of a bunch of trucks and bouncy castles and people, dancing and having coffee and stuff like that. So to
Well,
say
you and
that
I,
people were
you're the
living
only
in
one that did, right?
fear.
And weren't. You and I weren't, but the thing is, there were people who were actually scared to leave because they had bought the narrative. It was so
Okay.
overwhelmingly powerful, right? I
Scared,
think
but scared of the truckers, or
scared of
scared
the
of
truckers.
catching COVID?
Scared,
Scared of the truckers. Okay,
scared of the
because I
truckers.
know that on global news, before the convoy got to where they were going, it was just a day before. David Aiken of Global News, a man that I used to work with, said to Colleen Christie, a woman I used to work with, and they're both relatively nice people. He said, these truckers might have guns. These truckers want to start a January 6th insurgency. And these truckers, some of them are white supremacists. These are the three things he reported. And I was at home watching the station I worked for 22 years, 24 years. And I was so frustrated. I was so upset that I managed to get an interview with a trucker, and the trucker was driving and he had a partner with him. And I said, do you know anything about guns? And she goes, no, I don't see any guns. I just see a lot of sandwiches, is what she said, which I thought was adorable. It's like the news painted the picture, and maybe that's where that fear came from, like with everything else.
Yeah, 100%. It's the homes were being robbed, the lies with
Yeah, that was a bad one. Yeah.
Right. The government saying that there was an arson there was arson happening within a building, and then later on it was proven that it wasn't through the truckers. The racists that were allegedly there. You had the one Confederate flag and the one Nazi flag, never to be seen after those postings. Got that impression out there quickly on the news. That primacy effect, that behavioral psychology effect, right?
And if that was a very bad impression, absolutely, because they milked that to death on the news, as they milked the Terry Fox. Like, Terry Fox is our, hero of Canada, and to drape the flag over him, I have seen rainbow flags on him. I've seen other flags on him. I never saw this type of outrage over it.
Yeah, well, they use the word desecration in some of the news articles, right? Desecration usually means there is vandalism done. There is, there's damage that's been inflicted on the statue. There was nothing of the sort, right? And
no, not at all. But it is okay to topple a statue of somebody that you might not have liked, that lived 500 years ago. Oh, that's okay. We'll topple it and destroy it and throw it in the river.
The inquiry has been incredible for that, because it is exposing things to a degree where people did not expect, convoy supporters did not expect this to be happening, but they are exposing themselves, right? So another brilliant job happened, I believe, yesterday, where I think she was I think Arlene Ferguson might be her name. She's related to Ottawa Police somehow as well, I believe. And she was questioned, and she said, well, we did need the trucks to be removed.
So the threat of seizing assets of bank accounts and rigs and things like that.
Okay. Useful, but not necessary.
Yeah, useful, but not necessary.
So incredible. I mean, what more could you want? What more does the Canadian public need to know? But I think the damage has been done. So the question is, how far does this really go? We know that it's not legally binding. We know that there's going to be no consequences. Trudeau's not going to step down, and it's going to be fantastic when he takes the stand, and as well as
but they're all going to be so soft on him. So soft. And what do you make of the judge?
They get to be cross-examined, right?
Yeah.
So they get to be cross-examined, and the Democracy Fund is there. They have their lawyer. They've got Brendan Miller from the Freedom Convoy Group. So they're doing a pretty darn good job. So I think it'll be very interesting.
Oh, so you're feeling hopeful. You're not too worried about the judge, who's a Liberal supporter. How dare they do that?
Right, but he's apparently, so I interviewed Eva Chipiuk, and she's the lawyer for Tamara Lich and part of the Freedom Convoy Corp. And she said, he's actually been pretty good in terms of following the protocols of how things should go. It's the bias hasn't been too bad. So she's been pleasantly surprised. There's two ways, that's actually three ways that you can help out. I think two are probably better than the others. The actual Public Order Emergencies Commission website, where you can watch the live streams, they have the witness list there. You can actually submit your experience of what happened at the convoy. But Eva Chipiuk started one where there's a survey. We'll put the link down there where you can write your experience of what happened. And she's hoping to get hundreds and hundreds of people submitting their experience there, that it was peaceful, that it was completely against the contrary and the inverse of the narrative, right? And then the third one is convoylive.com. which is
Okay.
fantastic. I don't know who set up this website, but you go there, you can upload your footage. They have a map there, pinpoint where your footage came from, date and timestamp it. So they are going to have this moving vignette of all the different places.
Oh, nice.
So very
That's
cool
really
stuff.
nice. But this whole thing would have never happened in the first place had our prime minister gave these people the respect to go and meet with them. They deserved a meeting. And that by our prime minister not even showing up to speak to his own Canadian citizens and then doing what he did with the horses and freezing the bank accounts is an abomination of leadership, in my opinion.
We have seen our constitutional rights be obliterated, right?
Yeah.
We just saw the charter just get squashed right now as an argument for the vaccine travel mandate cases that all just got dismissed, right? There was that motion.
Yes, with Brian Peckford. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So
I was
Brian
very
Peckford-
unhappy to hear that too, and a lot of people are unhappy about that. Why throw that out? It is not a moot point. I mean, what do you think of that?
Well, yeah, it's obviously it's not a moot point because they're saying it's moot because there are no mandates in place right now, but they're suspended, right? And I believe what Brian Peckford is saying is it doesn't matter. You cannot time shift this and say because there's no mandates now, it was still put in place.
Yeah.
When I talked with when I interviewed Brian Peckford, I think it was back in May or sometime, he said, "We'll know when this happens how far Canada has fallen as a democracy if this fails."
Yeah, well,
So
we'll be keeping our eye on it. It is not a moot point. It deserves its day in court, and I'm very disheartened to hear anybody throw that out.
COVID is gone, but the real virus is surfacing now, which is an agenda to put us into this bio-fascist state where we're going to be looking at a social credit system.
The virus is their agenda. The virus isn't something to be scared of. I don't believe there's really anything to be scared of right now that you couldn't treat, that you didn't even need to be hospitalized for. I think it's gone that mild.
Exactly.
And if they didn't suppress all the medications that would make you better in the first place, we wouldn't be in this position. But the new virus is your government and what they want to do to you.
Well, yeah, you know what? I think that virus even spreads farther into the behaviors are psychopathic of the corporations, of the WEFs, of the WHOs, of the Bill Gateses of the world, who do not care about you or your family or your children. They care about their own, taking care of their own greed, their own power, and, basically trotting on anybody who's in their way, buying off anybody and everybody that need to play out their agendas.
Yeah. And I really wish these people would stop being bought. If the news would just bloody well smarten up, the mainstream news that has an opportunity, that has an audience, that has viewership, if they would just straighten up and fly right, we wouldn't be in this mental mess.
But hence the importance of the independent media. I mean, it's our job now to take over and get the news out there. And, it's advocacy journalism. If you're left-leaning, at least say you're left-leaning rather than pretending you're transparent, like the CBC is doing right now, right? Saying that they're speaking the truth. Well, unequivocally, we know that they're not, right? So
yeah, and they're taking our tax money, and I don't want to see a penny of my tax money go to them anymore. But anyway, we have a lot more for you. I think the next time we get together, we're going to talk about some findings from another great Canadian scientist, Denis Rancourt. I really do want to talk about some of the findings that the all-cause mortality data has shown there really was not much of a viral outbreak, and there's so much more to talk about. So if people want to check out what Glen and I are up to on here on the Minority Report, you can certainly go to the Minority Report on Rumble. You can catch us there, and you can always email us if you like, and we would love to have I love listening to the comments and listening to what people have to say. You can go to info@minorityreport.news and get a hold of us. And the people, it's the people.
Right? Yeah. I mean, we want to bring the news that it matters. We want to talk about the things that do. And, speaking about that, our website will be coming out soon. This is a work in progress. Life is so busy right now, fighting to get the truth out there, that we've scrambled this together. And we hope that you guys have liked this inaugural show. I'm certainly excited. Like when we first started talking about this, when I first met you, actually, I was like, man, I cannot believe I'm talking to Anita Krishna. We've been waiting for 2 years for her to come out, because you came out during the convoy with the most incredible speech, and that line I will never forget, when you're on stage and you said the greatest source of misinformation has been the mainstream media. And I was like, yes, finally somebody from the mainstream media has broken out, and you were the one, and now here we are together, and it's, for me, it's a dream come true. So thank you for everything you've done. It's a thrill for me. So I'm looking forward to having some amazing conversations.
Oh, one day let's do a show and I'll tell you what happened, like in the newsroom, like more, like things I never said just because I
All
felt
right.
bad. Now I
Yeah.
don't feel bad anymore. So there's more
There
to
you go.
come. There's your
Yeah.
teaser.
There you go.
Anyway, thank you so much. Thank you to everyone for watching today. And we look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks so much.
Yep. Thanks for joining the Minority Report, guys, and we'll see you again soon.